Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. On behalf of the Environmental Finance Center Network, I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, How to Build Marketing Skills to Gain Support for Water Customers. My name is Tess Clark. I work here at the Syracuse University Environmental Finance Center. I know many of you are interested in receiving certificates of attendance. For this webinar, certificates of attendance will be provided by the American Waterworks Association. For attendees who have an AWWA customer record, your certificate will be uploaded within 30 days. For attendees who do not have an AWWA customer record, you will receive an email from AWWA requesting that you create a customer record in order to receive your certificate. If you don't create a customer record, you will not receive a certificate. In order to get a credit, such as a CEU, you need to check with your licensing agency directly. It is your responsibility to make sure this webinar meets your agency's rules and criteria for credit. This session is one of several webinars conducted by the Environmental Finance Center Network for the Smart Management for Small Water Systems project. The EFCN provides training and technical assistance to small public water systems in all 50 states and 5 territories to help local systems achieve and maintain compliance with the Safe Drinking Water Act. Here you can kind of take a look at our small systems team. Our network extends across the US and we have centers in all major US regions. And here you can see some of the areas of expertise that we focus on. Workshops, trainings, direct technical assistance are provided on all of the following topics here. So you can see there's asset management, workforce development, water loss reduction, and many more. We also have a small systems blog. Our blog posts feature lessons learned from our trainings and technical assistance, descriptions of available tools, and small system success stories. You will have the opportunity to subscribe to this blog at the end of the webinar if you wish. And one last resource that I want to point out to you before we get to our presentation is our online funding sources map. This tool can help you find the major sources of funding for drinking water infrastructure for projects in each state and territory. Here's how you access those tables. On the EFCN homepage, you can go to the Resources tab and then click on Funding Sources by State. This is going to take you to a map of the country. If you click the state you're interested in, you will find a PDF table of all the relevant funding sources for that state. The table looks like the image on the left of the slide. For each funding program, it includes the name of the program and a short description for someone of the program and contact information for someone who works there. Okay. Before I turn the presentation over to our expert today, I just want to make you aware of our disclaimer. And I also have some quick polling questions for you. So I'm going to go ahead and roll out some polls. Just do your best to answer these and it'll sort of give us a sense of who's here with us today. So first, what kind of water and or sewer utility do you represent? You can select one of the following. And it looks like almost everyone's voted, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and share the results. Great, so of everyone that's a water system, it looks like the majority of folks are from local government and also have a decent amount of people that are also not-for-profits or cooperatives, and just a minority of people that are for-profit systems. Okay, and next, just going to ask you one more question. What size water or sewer system does your utility operate? You can just go ahead and put in the best response. Use the best of your ability to pick the one that works for you here. And we'll share the results shortly, and then we can kind of see who's in the room virtually. Great, so it looks like almost everyone's voted, so I'm going to go ahead and close this poll. Great, so of everyone that's a water system, it looks like 30% are on the larger side with 10,000 or more people served, and also the medium side, sort of evenly split. Do have some small systems here today. Looks like 9 and 11% from small and very small systems. Okay, great. So next, I'm going to turn the presentation over to our presenter, Leslie Kimball. Leslie is the Marketing and Events Coordinator at the Environmental Finance Center at Wichita State University, and she'll be joining us today to talk about marketing. Leslie, I am going to go ahead and get your screen for you shared.
Let's see here. Thank you, Tess.
Okay, should be working now.
Okay, I think I'm live. Okay, hello everyone, and thank you guys so much for taking an hour out of your busy day to join us on today's webinar. My name is Leslie, and I work at the Wichita State University Environmental Finance Center. So I'm coming to you live from right in the middle of the USA in Kansas. So today we're going to talk about a topic that we get asked a lot at some of the in-person workshops that we do for small water systems, and that is, how does the utility, get on the same page as the customers, and how does the utility gain customer support and buy-in? So we're going to talk a little bit about how we can build marketing skills to help us gain the support and help us to help our customers understand the value of our services. So before I get started today, I want to remind you that we are going to answer questions at the end of this webinar. So if you think of any question while I'm presenting, go ahead and type it in the question box on the right or the chat box on the right, and we will just kind of get, a lot of those questions built up so we can answer them at the end, because I know how it is when you forget your question halfway through. So just go ahead, as soon as you think of a question, type it in that box and we will get to it later. Okay, so we're going to dive into the importance of marketing our water utility. But before, I want to step back and ask the question, why? Why is it important for utilities to market themselves to customers? Utilities don't have to convince someone to choose their water or to buy their water over someone else's. Your customers don't really have a choice. It was kind of decided for them when they moved into their community. So you have no reason to try to get your customers to buy your service. So when we think of the term marketing, we think of trying to sell something to someone, and we're not really doing that. So why does a utility need to market themselves to their customers? So although you may not be trying to sell your customers on a water service, there's gonna be times when we need to sell them on other ideas or other concepts. There's gonna be times when we need to ask our customers to vote about water. And there's going to be times when we need to ask our customers to use less water. There may even be times when we have to ask our customers to trust us that our water is safe, even though, they may be seeing on the news that in other places public water isn't safe. So this trust with the organization is not going to happen magically. It's going to take some marketing that positions the utility as the community's authority on water. So we achieve this by taking the time to really put some strategy into our marketing as a utility to our customers. And in essence, we're going to try to sell the belief and the buy-in that our tap water service is safe, it's reliable, and it's a great value. So when we put effort into a marketing plan and a communication plan, we can really communicate the value of water to our customers. And this makes our life so much easier down the road, because once we're on the same page and the customer kind of sees things in the same light as the utility, our complaints start to decrease, the story about tap water changes in our community, people start to feel positively about their tap water, and people trust the utility. Most importantly, people want to support the utility. So now that we have agreed that marketing is pretty important for utilities, I want to talk about the importance of communication with customers, because marketing and communication, they kind of go hand in hand with each other. And now I know what you might be thinking, Like, wait a minute, you just told me that marketing to customers is important for gaining buy-in. Now you're telling me communication is just as important. Like, marketing and communication, don't they mean the same thing? What's the difference? Now, it's true there's a lot of overlap in the worlds of marketing and communication, but they are two different things. Here's how I like to think about it. Marketing is kind of knowing who our customers are and who do we want them to know us as? Who do we want them to think we are as a utility? And then communication is the how. So the communication is how are we going to go out there and actually talk to customers and tell our story and listen to customers. There's a lot of different ways we can do it. So communication is picking out how we're going to get the word out to customers in order to get to that marketing goal. Another way I like to think about it is, you know, just on a personal note. So think about if you're going to set up a new online social media profile, or think about if you're setting up a new LinkedIn profile for a job search. You know, you're going to take time to fill out all your preferences and your hobbies and your past jobs and your interests. And you're going to take time to choose a photo that, you know, you think you look pretty good in and you think makes you look professional or shows off your personality in some way. And so when we take that time to think about how we want to portray ourselves to the world, that's like marketing ourselves. So same thing when we think about how we want our customers to think about us as a utility. There's some marketing strategy there, and we want our customers to like us, and we want to portray ourselves in the best light possible in order to achieve this. Now, we can make the prettiest LinkedIn profile in the world. It's not going to get us a job, right? So we have to actually go out there and start talking to people. We have to write a cover letter. We have to go to the job interview. So that part is the communication. Communication is the going out there and choosing how, when, and where we're going to not just talk to our customers, but listen to our customers as well. So back to communication. Now we've kind of established the differences and the similarities between marketing and communication. I want to focus on communication for a second and talk about how we can start communicating with our customers and why it's important. So first of all, communication helps us build understanding. So let's take the example of our customers. You know, we need to tell them that, you know, it's time to raise our rates. We have to invest in aging infrastructure. We're usually kind of like hesitant, or, you know, no one looks forward to telling their customers we got to raise rates. Because let's face it, no one likes being told that they get to use less of their money for, you know, their own needs and wants. Even us, we want all the disposable income we can get, right? But at least if we understand why we need to pay more, if we can understand why this is an investment in our community, and we can understand the consequences if we don't pay more, it at least makes that rate increase a little easier to accept. So it's not the rate increase itself that makes customers upset, it's that lack of understanding. And communication bridges that gap and helps our customers understand. A second reason that communication is so critical with our customers and helping us gain buy-in is because communication builds transparency. So when we aren't communicating with our customers, especially in a government organization, you know, sadly, our customers assume that we're hiding something from them. So don't assume that your customers understand all the work that you do to make their water safe. They don't. And now I want to kind of get your guys' input, and I have a polling question that I want you guys to participate in. So Tess, can you screen that up for us?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to launch that poll. And the question is, how many times a year do public water customers think their drinking water is sampled and tested? So to pick the option here that kind of reflects your best intuition on that. 12, 50, 100, 1200. Okay, and we'll give you maybe a couple more seconds to vote. Looks like about 60, now 70% have voted, so we're going to close this poll. Okay, Leslie, can I share the results?
Yes, please do. I'm anxious to find out because I can't see them.
Great. So 72% of people voted about 12 times a year. 17% said about 50. 6% said about 100. And 4% said 1,200 times a year.
Okay. Awesome. So you guys are smart, or you were on my last webinar, because I'm pretty sure I gave out this tidbit of information on my last webinar. But yes, our customers, in a survey that was done, the average customer thinks that their utility only samples 12 times a year. So, you know, that's shockingly low to me, and I just think it really shows us how little our customers actually understand about the work that you guys are doing to make sure water is safe. Okay, are we back on my screen? Everyone sees the window right now, right?
Yep, we're on your screen.
Cool. So my point is with that poll that, you know, people who work in the public water industry, we've acquired so much knowledge about the work that goes into making water safe and accessible to the public. And we assume our customers at least know the basics, but they don't, right? So we can't blame them for not knowing. You know, a lot of our customers, like we said, they didn't have to choose who was their water provider. It was decided for them. So, you know, they didn't have to take the time to do the research. And as a result, they actually know very little about their water utility. So we're the same way. We're pressed for time, and we just don't have enough of it to sit down and learn everything we know that we should know and understand. So as a result, you know, we mean well and our customers want to be informed, but let's face it, they don't have time to figure it all out. So what they need is someone to deliver that information to them in a way that is convenient and easy for them to understand. And guess who that someone is going to be? It's going to be the utility. So, you know, we may not think of a utility's job as educating the public, but at the end of the day, we're public servants, and it is kind of our job to keep the public informed and to educate them about their water. And, you know, it's in our best interest because, like I said, once we can get customers informed and on the same page, then it's going to be much easier to get their support down the road. And let's admit it, this isn't always easy. You know, as a water utility, we're so good at working behind the scenes. It's like water utilities are like the James Bond, or they're like water ninjas. They work around the clock, they work behind the scenes to make sure the water is safe and available. The water flows when customers turn on their sink and showers. It's like magic. The utility has miles of pipe buried under the ground, but no one will ever notice it. So, you know, our treatment plants are tucked away in the community, they're inconspicuous, and it's really comfortable to just stay behind the scenes. But it's not the best strategy when we're trying to build a relationship with our customers that will help us gain their support. So we have to, you know, step out of our comfort zone. We have to take off our invisibility cloak, and we have to start telling our water story. Because, you know, if we're not telling our story, it doesn't mean that someone else isn't. It's still being told. We just don't have any control over it. So, you know, who's telling our water story if we're not the ones doing it? Is it the local media? Is it just gossip around town? Customers who have an awareness of their utility's work are 2.3 times more likely to say they feel connected to their utility. So it's time for us to take control of our water story. Here's the good news when it comes to marketing water. It's a pretty easy sell. It's funny because most marketers, you know, their job is to convince their customers that they can't live without their product or service, but in the water world, it's different. Our customers know that they can't live without our product, literally cannot live without it. So in the public water industry, all that's left to do is really kind of explain to our customers why water service is such a good value, and just kind of introduce ourselves, raise awareness of who their utility is and what they stand for and what they value. And here's the exciting part. Once you start delivering information to people about their water, they really find it fascinating. I mean, they rely on this water to get through every day of life. No one cannot relate to not liking water. So water touches everything our customers care about. You know, their health, their family, their community. They all rely on safe, clean water. So it's not that our customers don't care about their water, it's just that they have no idea the work that you guys do to make sure this service and is there for them, and to make sure it's a great value. So all that's left to do is start engaging with customers through marketing and communication. So we're going to talk about some ways that you guys can get started. But first, I want to share the single most important aspect of gaining customer support. So this is like the slide. If you don't remember anything else from today's webinar, just go ahead and remember this slide and you will already be ahead of the game. So the single most important aspect of getting started with marketing and communication to your customers is to get started as soon as possible. If you're going to face a rate increase in the next 5 years due to aging infrastructure or, you know, expanded growth, great. Start communicating tomorrow. This stuff doesn't happen overnight, and, you know, you're not going to gain your customer support just by, you know, handing out one brochure. This stuff is going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of repetition. I like to think about communicating with customers like lifting weights. So let's say, you know, you go to the gym, you pick out the heaviest weight that you can handle, and you do 1 rep, and you put the weight down, you step back, you look in the mirror, and you're like, ugh, I still look the same. I'm not any stronger. This clearly doesn't work. It might work for other people, but it does not work for me. We know that's silly, right? You're not going to get stronger from doing 1 bicep curl. We've got to do multiple reps, and we've got to work out more than once. And we got to make it a habit, have to make it part of a routine. And then, you know, one day, all of a sudden, you look in the mirror and you start to notice you're looking stronger. So gaining our support from our customers is going to work that same way. So that is why the sooner we start talking, the more time we have to build that trust and to get stronger, build a stronger relationship with our customers. And strengthen our reputation as the authority figure on water in the community. So remember, you know, the media affects the way our customers view government services. You know, they hear bad stories, could be something totally not related to you or not even close to your utility, but they hear bad stories on the news and assume that same thing could happen in my government or in my community. So don't let them assume that. Instead, you know, assure them by communicating to them early and really setting your flag in the ground as the community's authority figure on water. Okay, so we're going to talk about kind of the 3 steps that are going to happen once we start initiating marketing efforts and initiating communication with our customers, because like we said, it's not going to happen overnight. So how do you know you're making progress? Well, these are kind of the 3 steps of customer engagement that you can expect to see or to experience when you're going through this. So step 3 is engagement, and that's kind of the ideal place that we want to get to, right? That's like when a couple starts dating, the ultimate goal is to get engaged, right? So that stage we can consider the buy-in stage, where we have our customers on the same page, but it's not going to happen first. So here's what you can expect to see. First of all, we start with just raising awareness. So this is the stage that's just day 1, just trying to get the word out about our organization, you know, what we do and why it's valuable. And this is where we try to talk to as many customers as we can through flyers or our water quality report or face-to-face events, emails, bill stuffers. There's a lot of ways we can choose to raise awareness. And although this is just stage one on the journey to customer engagement, like we said, customers who have an awareness of their utilities work are 2.3 times more likely to say they feel connected to their utility. So even though we're not completely there yet, just getting to this point where we're trying to raise awareness about who we are, you're making so much great progress with your customers. So, you know, don't get discouraged that this is going to take a while. You are leaps and bounds ahead if you can just make it to this step and get started. So once we have been raising awareness for a while, the second phase that we're going to experience with our customers is called connection. So once people are familiar with our services, we can teach them even more. So here's where we find out, you know, what's important to our customers, and we can show our customers that those same issues that our customers care about, the utility cares about as well. Take safety, for example. The safety and reliability of our customers' families is one of their top priorities. Now, what does your utility do to ensure that the water your customers are drinking is safe and reliable? Remember, don't assume that your customers know how much work goes into that. So once they understand, you know, wow, you know, look at all this work they do to keep our water safe, they can relate to that shared value and they'll start to make a connection. And this is the stage where they have that kind of aha moment and realize that their utility really does care about the same things that they care about. And they start to question what they thought was true about water and what else they don't know about their public water. And they start to make that emotional connection with your utility. So once we've connected with our customers, we've established that we share the same values, the next step is engagement. This is where we finally gain the trust of our customers, and we're finally the community's authority figure on water. And this is where it becomes a lot easier to get the customer's support and buy-in. Now remember, it does take some time to get to this point. Just like a couple dating, you don't pop the question after the first date. It takes some time to build that relationship and build that trust. And this is why we said the most important part of this entire process is just starting as early as you can. Okay, so we know marketing is important, communication is essential, and we need to start early to give us as much time as possible. So how do we get started? So I want to talk about some really tangible ways that you can just, you know, get going tomorrow, some ideas that you can implement to really start the process of engaging with your customers. One way to communicate with customers is to think about where we're already communicating with them and just add to it. So what about like a water bill? We know our customers are reading that every month. So what other information could we share with them on that bill besides, you know, this is how much you owe us? Can you include any awards or charts that show the quality of your water? Can you let your customers know how often you sample the water and let them know it's in compliance? And how about providing tips to your customers that will help them detect leaks or lower their bill? This shows the customers that, you know, you're on their side, you want to help them find ways to conserve water and help them save money if possible. You can also, I really like this idea of giving a heads up on any construction that might be going on in the city due to water maintenance. You know, let them know what they'd expect to see and where. Show them a map if you can, and tell them, you know, why the work must be done and how the community will benefit after the work is complete. So also, what about our consumer confidence reports or our water quality reports? We already have to do this anyways, so why not use this as an outlet to really communicate and educate our customers? So how can we revamp our water quality report so that it's easier to understand for customers? Here's a great example. I really love this water quality report because it really breaks down the information into smaller, just easy to digest paragraphs. And it does a good job of explaining why this report is important. And I also like that it uses very little technical terms. It's very easy to understand for someone who doesn't work in water, because remember, like, our customers don't have time to figure out what all this jargon means, and it's so easy when you're writing about water to, you know, get very technical, because we have lots of technical terms and we have lots of chemicals that we test for. And so try to dial that down. And I even like to have, like, my husband or a member in my family read some of my writing to make sure that someone who is not immersed in this world 40 hours a week still understands, you know, what we're trying to talk about. Okay, so the second way we can just go ahead and start really communicating and marketing to our customers is to get ourselves a website. If you don't already have a website, you know, consider getting one, or maybe consider just having a page on your city's website where you can kind of house some of your information. If you do already have a website, that's great. The second step is to make sure it's updated and make sure it's very user-friendly, and make sure that, you know, it has those frequently asked questions ready to go for people who come looking for information. You've got a digital version of your water quality report on there, and make sure you have very clear contact information for people who want to contact you with more questions. Now, if it sounds overwhelming to start a website, you can also look into just, you know, getting a free blog. There's lots of hosting options online that will help you do an easy free blog you could start up. Or if you want to make it even simpler, just, you know, start a Facebook page, which is free, easy to do, and that could kind of be just like your place where you can house information. But, you know, once we start building awareness with our customers, we're going to need that place where we can send them to learn more about us. So this is that home base of information that we can really control and keep updated. Okay, so the third way that we can just really get started with communicating with our customers is to really start using media outlets to our advantage. So when I say the word media, I think a lot of people think, you know, the local news or the newspaper, the radio, and, you know, that is a media outlet, and, you know, we rely on them when we have kind of urgent information to pass along to our customers, such as a boil advisory. But we can also use the media to help our customers learn from us and learn more about us and market ourselves. So, you know, maybe you could showcase your water operators, photos of your water operators at work on your local city channel, or show some fun photos with facts that demonstrate the value of water service. Like, you know, maybe you make a little photo that shows the cost of water bottles versus the cost of your tap water. All good ways to start reaching out. And then don't forget about social media. That's very much a media outlet. There's so many great ways that we can use social media to really show and tell the community about our water service, because, you know, like we said, we kind of keep ourselves behind the curtain. People don't see a lot that goes into their public water. So I love how social media allows us to show them with images and videos, and you can get really creative with it. So maybe you show behind the scenes look at your utility, or you offer tips to customers like how to save money on their bill during sprinkler season. And, you know, with all the social media handles right now, or outlets, you can go live. You can go live with your video, and you could answer questions about, you know, your customer's water service in live time. And I know that's kind of scary, but live video has grown exponentially on social media lately, because marketing experts have discovered that live video is by far the quickest way to build that customer engagement. Live video just helps people learn so much quicker, really build a connection and feel like they're there talking to you and the utility. So it's like the fast track to customer engagement. So, you know, don't rule it out. You know, challenge yourself to try it once or twice. And you know, at the end of the day, my favorite part of using social media is because it is completely free for us to use. Now, if you are not big on social media, because sometimes when I give my social media spiel, I get a lot of operators that are like, you know, I don't want nothing to do with that. I don't even have a Facebook. I'm not interested. And that's okay. You don't have to be super into social media, but it's still in your best interest to have your utility online where people can find information and get news from you. So, you know, do you have someone at your utility that is kind of savvy with social media? We teach a workforce development training and we talk about hiring and working with millennials. I know if you've hired a millennial in the past couple of years, I know they know how to use social media. So think about who on your staff might be a good person to kind of spearhead that social media presence. And I know we think social media is all about sharing photos and fun and games, but 2/3 of American adults actually get their news from social media. So social media is not just a place to have fun and share photos with friends. This is very much a news outlet and a way to share information with customers that are in pretty real time. So, you know, if something's happening in your community, you can bet that people are gonna, as far as something happening with your water, like word gets around that there may be a boil advisory, you can bet people are gonna go looking on social media to see if you have any information out there for them. So it's kind of a good idea to get started. Okay, I'm stepping off the social media soapbox. A fourth and very effective way that you can start communicating and engaging with your customers is to simply get involved in your community. So when we actually have a face-to-face interaction with our customer, this is such a unique marketing opportunity. We get to raise awareness about our utility, we get to educate the customer, but at the same time, we get to have a two-way conversation. So we get to listen to our customers, which is just as important, if not more important, than talking to our customers. So, you know, think about where you could get that face-to-face time. Is it at a community event or a festival? Could you invite your customers to your utility and have kind of an open house night? Or maybe you could start them early and just give some presentations at elementary schools. One idea that we found when my colleague Tanya and I went to the WEF Utility Management Conference last February, we got this great idea from Charlotte Water that they've had a lot of success with, and it's called a pop-up event. So here's an example. If a neighborhood in their service area was going to experience, you know, any construction or have a water outage or any change of service for any reason, they would set up a table at like a popular intersection, like a school or an area that gets lots of people passing by in the community, and they would just set up a little table and they would have, you know, information about what's happening, why it's happening, what the customers can expect. And that is such a great way to build relationships with your customers, you know, really let them know you care and let them see a face to your utility. These face-to-face opportunities are also a great way to, you know, just talk to customers that aren't necessarily the ones that call you every day. You know, these customers aren't necessarily the ones that show up to every city council meeting, but they're still our customers. So it's great to be able to hear from customers that maybe wouldn't have an opportunity to talk to you otherwise. And of course, don't forget that communicating face-to-face with our customers is a major opportunity to educate them. So have some demonstrations planned, have some handouts ready, have some copies of your water quality report ready. If you are there about construction, it's great to have an actual map of the street so you can show them exactly where the work is going to happen. And also, you know, give your staff a little bit of a primer for some of those frequently asked questions that they can be expected to be answering. And don't forget that photos from these types of live events are awesome to promote on social media. Okay, my fifth and final way that we can really start to market to our customers and gain their buy-in is to start listening to our customers. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but it's really important because, you know, I think that we think we know what is important to our customers when it comes to water, but until we actually ask them, we're really just guessing, right? So there's a 2018 study from the Water Research Center that found that utility leaders were most concerned about deteriorating local water infrastructure, but their residents were the most concerned about potential water shortages and high water bills. So once we understand what our customers are concerned about, we can address those issues for them, but we can also kind of refocus their attention to those issues that we know are more pressing and that we know we need them to be educated about and give consideration to. So think about ways you can do that. You can do a paper survey in the bill. You could do an online survey. If you're having those face-to-face interactions at community events, just have your survey there so they can take it. Or maybe, you know, arrange a little focus group. Again, social media, you can do polls easily with your customers. So think of ways you can start really getting feedback from your customers. Okay, so we've covered a lot of material today about marketing, about communication, and about ways to gain support from our customers. And you may be thinking, this is a little overwhelming, you know, I'm very busy as it is. How am I going to find time to start being a marketing coordinator on top of everything else? Like, do I need to hire a marketing staff? Do I have to have a graphic designer? Do I have to have a fancy camera? You know, what do I need? And the good news is you don't need to have a professional marketing agency or even a graphic designer to start using these new marketing strategies. You know, I'm a full-time marketing coordinator, and even I struggle to keep up with keeping our social media updated and taking the time I need to design all the brochures I need to design by their deadline or find the perfect picture of water. So I've developed a few marketing tricks and kind of hacks along the way, and I'm going to share those with you guys now. Okay, so you know the old saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, it's true. So pictures and photos, they're a very powerful way to help tell our story to customers, especially in the water industry. There's so much work done behind the scenes, and you know, you don't need a photographer, you don't need a fancy camera. The smartphones that we have nowadays have awesome cameras in them, and they're definitely good enough to take great photos that you can share with your customers on social media or on their bills. So that you don't need a fancy camera, you just need that phone that's with you all the time. So if you have the opportunity to interact face to face, you know, forget the pictures and use live props. You know, if you have an old piece of pipe laying around, nothing's going to help the customer understand what a deteriorating pipe looks like more than being able to see one in real life. So think about what props you can use. And finally, if you are looking for more professional, high quality water photos, I like to use a website called pexels.com. I have the link there on my slide. But this is a website full of professionally taken photos, and they're royalty free, meaning that they are legal and they're free for you to use in all of your brochures and marketing. So, you know, I've curated quite the collection of water related images from this website. So if you're ever looking for something in particular, you can always just ask me, because I probably have a photo of it on hand somewhere. Okay, so this is my ultimate marketing hack, and I only share this with select VIP people, but I think since all of you guys have endured 40+ minutes of me talking, you're definitely a VIP in my book. So this is my secret to producing really great looking marketing materials really fast. It's called canva.com. It's an online software. You don't have to download anything. It's free. And basically there's lots of different templates, and there's clip art and photos. You just have to pick the template for what you're doing. You know, you can do a brochure, you can do a flyer, you can do a social media post. a poster, and it just has it there ready to go, right size, right graphics. It looks pretty. You just switch out your text and you switch out your photos, and then you can download it to your desktop. So this is really my secret. I mean, I can do all the design in the Adobe InDesign and the Adobe Photoshop. I can maneuver those, but this is my shortcut and helps me meet all my deadlines. So definitely check this out next time you feel like you need just a quick brochure. And my favorite tip for getting started with your marketing is to just let me help you. Let the Environmental Finance Center Network help you. We offer free help on managerial topics. If you're a drinking water system and you serve 10,000 or fewer people, then we can provide assistance for you. So here's a few examples of just ways that we can, help you get a marketing and communication plan up and running. Okay, I think I have allowed a little under 15 minutes for questions, which I was going to remind you guys to keep on having your questions rolling in, but I forgot, of course. So if you guys have any questions you wrote down, please go ahead and type those in the chat box. And, if you think of one a little later, that's fine too. I will respond to your questions. We'll collect all the ones we don't get to, and I'll follow up with you via email. So Tess, how is it looking? Do we have any questions rolling in yet?
Yes, we definitely do. We already got a bunch of questions that people submitted over the course of the webinar. So we'll try to get to as many as possible. And like you just said, I'm sure all of the follow-up we can take care of after the fact. So the first question is it's about PR. And the question is, everyone represents the agency brand. PR is everyone. When it comes to direct engagement, what do you suggest for how we should develop spokespersons?
That's a great question, because that is something that was in my notes for this presentation and is a very good point to touch on. So, when we think about, oh, well, if the media comes, it's going to be the utility supervisor or intendant that is going to get interviewed. But, really, who represents the utility? It's everybody, right down from our superintendents all the way down to our frontline staff that are out there on the street doing the work. So I do think it's important to take a moment to invest in our employees and our staff and make sure they know why this is important. And like I said, kind of give them a primer on those frequently asked questions that our customers have, and almost just be prepared with how to handle those. I kind of touched on this in a webinar I did recently about keeping employees happy and keeping customers happy, but I used to work at Walt Disney World, and on the first day of our onboarding, they just equip us with how to handle customer situations. So I think it's something to kind of work into the employee onboarding, and just make sure that they know it's everybody's job. Everybody is a representation of our water utility. Same goes with our elected officials too. They need to know what they're talking about. So good thing to keep in mind.
Awesome. So the next question is kind of also about communication. In trying to communicate as soon as possible, how can we avoid being too vague? And then the example that this asker gave is, if I'm trying to plan for a rate increase down the road, I probably don't have many details yet.
That's a great question. So yeah, how do you strike that balance? Because you want to let people know as soon as possible, and we want to be detailed because we want to make it look like we've done our research, but the fact is some things we just don't know yet. And I think that's okay. So, don't be afraid to tell customers or to tell the board, we don't have all the information yet, but this is what we do know right now. And this is what we can tell you based on this information. I think that actually helps build even more trust, because it shows that you're open to letting the customer know, this is what we know, this is what we don't know. We're not hiding anything. This is just the way it is. So don't be afraid to talk about things you're not exactly sure on. Just tell them your plan for getting that information and the different options you'll pursue once we know more.
Great. And so then the next question is kind of about social media. So the asker is sort of saying things can get really kind of crazy and time consuming. How do we deal with that? And also, are there good references for social media engagement practices for dummies?
Yes, absolutely. So yes, like I told you, I'm a full-time marketing coordinator, and there's times when I just do not have the time. I don't have the time to post on social media. It can be very time consuming, but I think the important thing is, there's going to be ebbs and flows, especially when you don't have a full-time social media coordinator. There's going to be times when I've got a couple really great posts throughout the month, and there's going to be times when I'm not as active on there, and that's okay. I think the most important thing is don't give up on it. Okay, so it's okay if we let it slide for a little bit. We'll get back to it, but don't let that be a barrier in just not having a social media, and don't let that be something that kind of deters you from just saying, oh, I don't have time. It's been like 2 weeks I haven't posted. I'm just not going to do it anymore. It's okay. Just get back on there when you can. And something I like to do when I'm pressed for time and I don't necessarily have time to create my own content, I just like to network with other water organizations and share their content. So just a quick repost or a retweet of other information that my customers might find valuable. And just like I was using Water One as a lot of examples, that's actually my local water utility, and I'm so thankful they are, because they give me so much great content to work with. They are really great examples. So just get online, get on Twitter, get on Facebook, and Google for other water organizations and water utilities that are already doing it. That's a great source of inspiration, just to help you get some ideas.
That kind of ties into the next question that we have here, which is a question that says, do you have a database of social media posts or flyers that have worked really well? And in the absence of that, some examples of where to go to find good prior examples.
Got you. Maybe that's a good thing for me to develop, kind of a portfolio, if you will, of good examples. But, when I'm looking for ideas, I just say, you know what, I have the internet at my fingertips. So I literally just go to Twitter and I search for water organizations, or I go to Facebook and I look at the pages of some of my favorite utilities, or even bigger utilities that have a lot of staff that can dedicate time to this. That's where I like to go. It's just other utilities that have been doing it a little longer than I have.
Okay, and then this is kind of back to the timing, the sort of how much time we need to spend on marketing. And the question is, do you have a recommended % of staff time that a utility department maybe should consider dedicating to marketing PR efforts?
Oh, I think that's hard. I think it's really hard to put it down into a percentage. And also because I think it's going to change a little bit. You may be in peak season when it's summer and you're super busy, and it's going to be a very small percentage of your time. You're just kind of trying to keep yourself in touch with your customers. But then maybe in the winter months, it's slower around the office, and you can really take that time to maybe, build up a list of 30 post ideas that you can save. And, later in the summer when you're pressed for time, you can just go to that list where you already have the photo and you already have the caption. You just got to put it out there. So, when you're not as busy, maybe make up for that time where you're going to be busy by preparing yourself a list of ideas for marketing.
Great. So it looks like we've got time for maybe just a couple more questions. We have a couple here, but this is probably your last chance to get those questions answered. So if you're on the fence about submitting one, get those in now, because we're coming into the last 5 minutes. The next question for you, Leslie, is do you have any support resources or literature for a utility that's maybe dealing with customers that are resisting smart water meters?
Interesting. Well, I don't have one for that right off the bat. I maybe could with a little more research, but I don't right off the bat. I am working with a utility right now that is trying to prepare their customers from going from a flat rate fee to a per consumption fee. And so there's a little bit of similarities there, but I would have to do a little more research. So I will get back to you on that.
Okay, and we just had a request that we repeat the web address for the clip art, the design materials that you provided on one of the earlier slides. So if we could go back to that quickly.
Great. I have two, and these slides will be up on the EFCN website in a couple of weeks, so keep your eye out there. But pexels.com is where I like to go for professional photos that I can use for free in my marketing materials. So that one is right there. And then canva.com is where I like to get templates for my different marketing pieces or social media photos. And in Canva, they have built-in graphics. So they have a database of clip art you can use and photos you can use. Now, lots of them are free. Some of the really cool ones are like $1 or so, but definitely enough free resources for you to get by. So that's canva.com and pexels.com.
Awesome. So I think that's all of the questions that we have at the moment. In the last couple minutes, I just want to make you all aware of our survey. I'm going to send it to you in a chat box, and if you have a couple of spare minutes and you want to complete our survey, that's great. We use that information to help us improve our webinars. And we do have just 2 more polling questions that we like to give out just because we ask about our blog and we also ask about technical assistance. So if you want to respond to those polls, that's how we'll get back in touch with you to help you out, either by subscribing you to our blog or by getting in touch with you for technical assistance. So I'm launching this poll. So just take a minute to respond here if you are interested in getting some technical assistance. And this is how we'll be able to follow up with you. And I know most of you have now voted, but I'm going to give you a couple more seconds just for everyone to have a chance here. All right, so I'm closing this poll now. And then lastly, this is a poll that pertains to our blog. So if you are interested in getting our blog posts, which have some good lessons learned for various topics related to smart management, you can do that now. Great, so it looks like almost everyone's voted, so I'm going to close this poll, and I'm going to throw it back to Leslie if you have any closing comments, and after that, we'll bid you adieu.
All right, thank you, Tess. Well, nope, no closing comments besides thank you guys for spending an hour of your day with me. I hope you found a few things valuable, and I hope this inspires you to just, dive in and get started on a marketing and communication plan. So thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a good rest of the week.
All right, thanks everyone.